Happy Friday. It's a pleasure to have your company on this last day of April. The news in detail with me, Gloria Mutisi. President Paul Kagame, who is the chairman of the RPF Inkotanyi Party, has asked the party's leaders and members not to stray from the RPF's values and instead work harder to fulfill their responsibilities. The president made the remarks on Friday during the party's extended National Executive Committee meeting at its headquarters in Rusororo. Stationary has the details.
The two-day meeting is featuring the party's leaders, invited youth as well as government officials that are not members of the RPF Inkotanyi, looking to assess the progress the party has made in its efforts for long-term national development for all Rwandans and what can be improved in the way its members do things. Problems we have been trying to deal with, including this recent pandemic that is still ongoing, have shown us the progress we have made. When I speak of the problems we have that are evident among us leaders, us cadres of the RPF, it is not just for the sake of criticizing. The purpose is to acknowledge the progress that has been made, but also ask why more progress could not have been made if it was possible. If what you have achieved is commendable, why didn't you achieve more if it could have been done? The RPF Inkotanyi Party chairman also stressed the importance of discipline in dealing with anything of significance, not least of all the well-being of an entire nation. It would be difficult to deal with the challenges we have been facing without discipline, to get solutions for them. As for the ideology and behavior when it comes to the policies we speak of or desire, only discipline can make them possible so that people in the country can benefit. Without it, you are only able to address 30% of issues instead of 90%, and you feel fine about it. So you settle for just that, then only a few benefit while the vast majority fall victim to those inadequacies. When we speak of the RPF and the responsibilities it has carried through the years, its objectives, its roots, they are right here in Rwanda and for all Rwandans, with no divisions. The RPF's 2017 to 2024 manifesto has continued to be implemented at a favorable pace, though challenges do exist. Of its 97 objectives, built upon the 3 pillars of economic development, good governance and social welfare, 51% of them have been implemented at a rate of between 85 and 100%, with 11% of the objectives still struggling. We are making good progress when it comes to implementing this manifesto, but things need to be accelerated and implemented, especially those that have been falling behind, given a special emphasis and included in national programs by the relevant authorities. Also, more effort needs to be done in not only the implementation of these objectives, but also their progressive assessment, done on a quarterly basis. Annual reports should also be prepared in the time we have left so that everything is done before 2024. We also need to dig deep and better use the limited resources we have. Other speakers during the meeting included Dr. Daniel Ngamije, the country's Minister of Health, who presented the progress that Rwanda has made in fighting the COVID-19 pandemic and the many important lessons the country has learned when it comes to preparing for and dealing with such events and calamities moving forward. This was among the reasons President Paul Kagame reiterated that there can be no room for complacency. Providing half-baked results from your responsibilities or abandoning them to go and do other things cannot work and is not in line with the things we are always talking about and doing so that our country develops. If anything, we must work in an extraordinary manner because the nature of the situation we find ourselves in is by no way ordinary. If we were to do things in an ordinary way as the RPF, as Rwandans, we would achieve nothing. We must sacrifice when things are hard and properly use the limited resources available to be able to achieve the most we can. This is the biggest meeting to have brought together RPF Inhotanyi members from all districts of the country since the COVID-19 pandemic began.
Let's also inform you that the Office of the President of Rwanda has announced that on Wednesday, His Excellency Paul Kagame received his counterpart from Mozambique, His Excellency Philippe Nyusi. The two heads of state discussed matters to do with mutual cooperation and fighting terrorism. Rwanda and Mozambique enjoy good relations when it comes to things like trade, diplomacy, and the sharing of experiences on different matters. In 2016 and 2018, the two countries signed cooperation agreements focusing on politics, governance, culture, tourism, agriculture, mining, aviation, investment, ICT, as well as TVET training. In other news, UK Minister of State for the Commonwealth, Lord Tariq Ahmad of Wimbledon, has commended Rwanda's economic and social progress that has been made since the 1994 genocide against the Tutsi 27 years ago. He made the remarks this Friday during an interactive session with the students of the African Leadership College at the Kigali campus. Gabi Muvunyi has more.
The UK Minister of State for Commonwealth had an interactive session with students at the African Leadership College at the Kigali campus. Here they discussed some of the progress the Commonwealth has made in fairness, security, sustainability and education. Some students who attended the session say they learned a lot from it.
It was an opportunity for us to talk to him. The good thing about being an African is sometimes when you share your problems, it doesn't mean that it's only about your country. You're sharing a perspective about every African. And I believe that we as future leaders, having the opportunity to talk to him today was something that would not only be beneficial for me as a Cameroonian, but for every other African that attends the African Leadership University.
The major thing that I learned is that the Commonwealth is very much open to youth, and there's so many ways in which we can get opportunities to be a part of it. As Africans, we are very much interested in recreating the perception that the whole world in general has about us. And when he mentioned something about how the Commonwealth is open to learning from Africa, learning about our values and learning about the intellectual value that we have as Africans, I mean, that was a breath of fresh air, and I have so much more zeal to be a part of my African community and contribute, and I'm looking forward to working with the Commonwealth.
I learned a lot of things about the Commonwealth engagement with Africa, how they are finding certain projects on investing into the youth so that the climate change issue is kept.
The minister says the UK is committed to continuously supporting Rwanda's development and helping to build on the significant economic and social progress that has been made since the genocide against the Tutsi 27 years ago. He adds that education plays a major role in building a brighter tomorrow.
Since 1998, we've invested very heavily in support for Rwanda, about understanding and working with the government of Rwanda under President Kagame, understanding what its priorities are. And education is one such key priority. And in that regard, I'm proud to say that we've worked, and we can talk about different projects, etc. But when you look at the overall picture, over £1 billion since 1998 has been our contribution in strengthening the relationship. And a key component of that has been investment in education. When you invest in education, it changes lives. And when you invest in a girl's education, you can change the lives of everyone.
The minister also commends Rwanda's work on its planning for a safe and secure 2021 Commonwealth Heads of Government meeting, which is scheduled to take place in Kigali this June. At Chogam, the UK will hand over to Rwanda the role of Commonwealth Chair in office. Gabi Muvunyi for RTV.
Thank you, Gabi, for that report. Now, in an exclusive interview with RBA, Lord Ahmad Tariq, who is on a 2-day visit in Rwanda, said he is pleased with the preparations of the Commonwealth Heads of Government meeting. And he also touched base on the 5 Rwandan fugitives who are living freely in the UK.
The strength of hosting anything is in its people, and the warmth of the reception I've received from the people of Rwanda, the engagements I've had, demonstrate the real motivation, the enthusiasm to host the Heads of Government meeting. In practical terms, we've had some very productive meetings with the government of Rwanda in terms of the transition from our role as chair in office to Rwanda's after Chogam 2021. And this morning at the Kigali Conference Centre, I saw the actual physical sort of venue where Chogam would be held. And I think it's very much full steam ahead. Rwanda seems very much prepared and ready to go.
One of the core common values of the Commonwealth is justice and accountability, and that is shared across the Commonwealth family. And many Rwandans, especially genocide survivors, continue to wonder when the UK will take action in regards to the 5 genocide suspects in the UK. What can you tell these Rwandans?
Well, first of all, we stand in total solidarity. One of my roles within the British government is as the Prime Minister's Special Representative on preventing sexual violence in conflict. I've met with victims of sexual violence in conflict, and when we look back at the genocide that took place here in Rwanda, I was at to pay my respects to the victims of the genocide only yesterday with our High Commissioner. And when I went there and I stood by the memorial, I stood by the very place where some of those tragic victims are buried. You can't help but be moved by the tragedy that unfolded here. Yet here we are, 27 years on, and Rwanda has moved forward. We've seen progress on the very issues of justice and accountability which you mentioned. And in this regard, again, we stand very strongly with Rwanda. On the specific question you raised about the 5 individuals, what I can share with your viewers is that our Metropolitan Police have a specialist unit looking at war crimes and war criminals, and they're very much engaged on this very agenda. We want to see every perpetrator of every crime being brought to justice, and we share that.
Moving on, as Rwanda prepares to mark the International Labour Day on May 1st, employees in different sectors in Rwanda say they've stepped up their efforts to cope with the effects of the COVID-19 pandemic. Jane Mutoni continues.
16 young men and women who studied information technology at universities in Rwanda, China and Canada currently work with a software company called Highview Tech Group Limited that produces a variety of software solutions needed on the Rwandan market. The director of operations at the Highview Tech Group, Brenda Munezero, says they have various services which help many people during this pandemic.
COVID-19 pandemic has actually given us the opportunity to brainstorm, bring new ideas to the market, As of today, we haven't really, there is still room for growth, right? We can still use artificial intelligence, we can still use robots to perform some tasks. So simple examples such as MTN or Airtel Pay, online grocery shopping, for instance, was a push for the technological field to step out of our comfort zone and bring new ideas, bring new thoughts that I believe will impact and improve the lives of Rwandans.
The director of Algorithm Inc., Kimenyi Aimable, who also runs various groups that are being marketed in Rwanda and other countries, requests information technology schools to teach their students the courses that are needed on the market for greater benefit.
But the problem now is the skills. The skills we are getting from universities and colleges, it doesn't meet our needs. So we are really encouraging universities to work with the private sector because they are dictating for us. But sometimes when we tell them to try to focus on what we want, it's like a fight. You will see a school trying to teach what you call rocket science things, try to show that they are on a global level, but you don't have to teach things which are not needed here.
From 2017 to 2024, the country set a target of creating 1.5 million jobs, but although this target was hindered by the COVID-19 pandemic, from 2017 to 2018, about 778,132 new jobs were created. The Minister of Public Service and Labour, Rwanyindo Kayirangwa Fanfan, says the government played its role in this regard. The government has invested lots of efforts in creating jobs. For example, there are existing programs that help the citizens to rise from poverty, like HIMO, which has employed many people for road constructions, and other programs in farming and planting forests, as the government has added more money to the fiscal budget in order to facilitate these programs. I wish all employees in Rwanda a happy International Labour Day. From the beginning of the first COVID-19 total lockdown in Rwanda, the unemployment rate rose from 13.1% to 22%, according to the figures from the National Institute of Statistics of Rwanda released in 2020. This rate later reduced to 17.8% in the following months of 2020. The decline in the unemployment rate is due to a 29% increase in technology employment, a 16% increase in healthcare, and a 1% increase in agriculture. Globally, the pandemic has left more than 33 million people without jobs, in addition to 188 million who were already unemployed before the pandemic hit the world. No event is planned for this International Labour Day except for talk shows on radio and television. Jane Mutoni, reporting for RTV.
While still on the same note, we also bring you a profile of one Kajiraneza Silvanus, who has been working in security management for 9 years through the ISCO Security Management Company. Throughout the years, Kajiraneza says he has strived to better his career that has sustained him and his family. Sam Kalisa continues.
Kajiraneza Silvanus, 57 years old, works as a bank security officer through a private security firm. He starts his work at 6:30 a.m. all the way to 6 p.m. The first person customers meet when they come to seek services is Kajiraneza Silvanus, in charge of security. I welcome and greet them. I then inspect and then thank them for coming. I really enjoy appreciating them and welcoming them to the bank. He says he's passionate about his job. I'm really passionate about my work. I'm used to it. Even when I retire, I will know that I worked for my country. Work is the source of life, because man reaps from the fruits of his labor. His wife and 6 children stay in Gicumbi district while he works in Kigali. He says no one should despise their job. A job is a privilege. Whatever it is, respect it because you are paid. You are able to educate your children and sustain your family. His goal is to be better at his job and leave a good legacy behind. What I would encourage my friends is to strive to be better at their jobs and learn from each other. It's a passion for me. Even when I retire, they will remember me as someone who worked really hard for ISCO and for all Rwandans. I will even be an example they learn from. I'm really happy with my job and I strive to be a role model. Rwanda will join the world on 1st May to celebrate International Labour Day.
In other news, Rwanda has noted that cooperation with the European Union is beneficial for the long-term development. This was during the marking of the 10th anniversary of the European External Action Service. Saishnori has more.
The ceremony to mark the 10th anniversary of the European External Action Service, or EES, in Rwanda was attended by different dignitaries, and most of the focus centered on the importance of cooperation and the unity of African countries for the sake of development. The benefits of good Rwandan-EU relations were also noted.
In the case of Rwanda, with the EU's support, we have successfully implemented 3 country strategy programs, and the negotiations of the next one are ongoing with the European Union throughout the years, and is committed to continuously engage the Union in different areas, including at political and technical levels.
Academicians have also pointed out, however, that Africa's relations with other continents like Europe often face serious challenges. Oftentimes, instead of respecting the norms and fundamental principles that are supposed to guide those relations, people turn to their own personal gain, and entire countries are governed in ways that focus on that personal gain. When you look at Africa, the colonial dependence mindset is still a burden the continent bears, with people thinking that everything must come from Europe. What can be done, and it is what is being focused on and perfected, is that people think beyond such things and tell the truth, trust each other and respect each other as well. Also, the Africa we speak of must stop being divided and have one voice. It was also observed that no one country can solve all of its problems, rather that working with others is the key to finding lasting solutions. The EU is also looking to begin a new chapter in its relations with Africa and looks forward to continue its good cooperation with Rwanda.
Multilateralism is really at the core of this EU vision, but also the work we're doing at bilateral level with a number of our partners countries. The European Union has developed one of the largest and the most important diplomatic networks in the world. And here in Rwanda we enjoy very good relations with the government of Rwanda. A partnership that is based on the shared interest, a partnership among equals. So we're moving away from a traditional donor-recipient approach, and we want to embrace a new kind of cooperation based on the shared interest and values.
Other global bodies like the UN are also looking to boost cooperation so that the world can effectively deal with the challenges it has continued to face.
We have strong cooperation on peace and security, on crisis management, and also on development with the agenda, a better world for all, everywhere, leaving no one behind.
Since 2011, the EEAS has been working to support Rwanda's efforts in long-term development, looking at things like national policies, democracy, the people's social welfare, the country's economy, as well as peace and security in Rwanda and the region as a whole.
We will leave it at that for today. Many thanks for making a date with us. Have a wonderful weekend, a safe one as well, doing all that is required of you to stop the spread of the pandemic. Otherwise, God bless you and keep you. Until next time, I'm Gloria Mutisi. Bye for now.